Alright, so I'm doing a movie review on Bloodsport. Um, this is Van Damme's real breakout role. Um, arguably his best movie. Um, I guess that's pretty debatable, but this is a really good one. The main thing is that he's fighting in what's called the Kumite, which is no rules fighting in China tournament that happens once every 5 years. Um, uh, and so well, I have it on DVD here, which is a lot like VHS. Um, so it's old. I've had it for a while. Um, but so of course I like it. It's a good movie. But I guess it's pretty straightforward, the story. I was just thinking about how I was going to do a synopsis here. But the main thing was he was a kid, uh, teenager, something like that, and broke into this guy's house, and then tried to steal the kumite sword from this Japanese guy, but he caught him, and but like the kid's attitude and stuff, and so started training him uh, ninjutsu, Japanese martial art. Um, and then, but he basically just had him to train his son for to have like a sparring partner for his son. Um, but then his son died, and then Van Damme, Frank Dukes is the character's name in the movie. I guess I'll get to that in a second. So there's a lot to talk about in this. Um, so Van Damme asks the teacher to train him, and then he basically begs him to learn the art, and then eventually he gives in and starts training him in ninjutsu like fully. Before he just had him as kind of like a training dummy for his kid, but his kid died. So um, what was I gonna say there? It's just a lot to go over, just kind of flashing through. Um, so yeah, so he turns him in the ninjutsu because the art would have died with the son because it was passed down for many generations from father to son, as the story goes, and then his kid died, so he wanted the art to live on, and so he teaches Van Damme the ninjutsu. Um, and then later on, Van Damme goes into the military and wants to fight in the Kumite. It's like more of the opening part to it, and and so the guys like his bosses or commanders are trying to get him out. They said Uncle Sam invested a lot of money in him, and they didn't want him to fight in the Kumite because it could be dangerous, could get hurt or whatever, and they invested a lot of time and money in him. So they don't want him fighting it. But he sneaks away and fights in it anyway. So I'm kind of all over the place. With this, I didn't write any notes or anything, just have it off the top of my head. Um, so he sneaks away and fights it anyway. Um, so I I should have wrote some notes down, but it's all right. So I guess I'm going to talk about the Kumite itself, and I guess just quite a few points about that. I'll talk about that. I was in the military, and he wanted to fight in the Kumite, but they didn't want him to fight in it. So it makes me kind of think about that. How many good fighters and stuff like that, talented athletes, I guess you would say, that are in government and military that would be in other sports otherwise. Which are deprived of these other sports. So the Kumite is no hold barred fighting. This came out in '88, and UFC came out in '93. Um, So it's kind of like pre-UFC, but this is still no rules, kind of I guess how it should be, possibly to the death or whatever. I guess the more I guess more interesting. It's more dangerous and stuff like that, and I guess pretty bad in a way to be holding a contest like that to the death potentially on the no rules where you can get seriously hurt. But I guess it's a lot more, a lot more interesting, and you can see more, um, I guess, more of the truth in combat that way, um, as opposed to rules and regulations and all that. But so it actually starts out kind of like the UFC started out, where they were pitting style against style. So there's like all these people invited from all over the world, and they all have these different styles and different body types, and styles to suit their body type and nationality and all that. So that's pretty interesting. Mixed martial arts was a lot more like that when it first came out, because people were disciplined in one particular sport, like branch of striking or wrestling, branch of wrestling, which I guess there's different styles of wrestling, and then different styles of jiu-jitsu would be another form of grappling, different branch of grappling. Um, so I guess the early UFC fighters, like the ones who did well, were ones who were like boxing and wrestling, pretty much. Um, uh, so, I was gonna say, yeah, it's pretty interesting to see a style specialist to where now, I guess, UFC, MMA, mixed martial arts is, well, UFC is about 25 years old, but apparently they were doing it in Brazil. No holds barred. I guess there were probably a few rules a few years before UFC came out. So 25 years is a good while. So people are kind of, I guess you would say, grown up on that. It's where the first 5 or 10 years it was out, people were still kind of in their own world and not as affected by UFC growing up and things like that. So now people go for specializing in MMA, like go into specifically for MMA to start with, instead of a particular style, which could be good, good for the sport or whatever. But the problem with that is that it's so broad and everything that they get into MMA in particular, but they're not particularly good at any one aspect. So they say like he's got good wrestling for MMA, he's got good striking for MMA, instead of like good wrestling or striking in general. Um, so that's that. So I was kind of off on a tangent, but also there are some people who pick up skills faster and better, I guess, than others. So some people can acquire, I guess, what you call mastery or expert level and more than one skill, while others and take them a little longer, or they more only have the ability to master fewer skills. Um, but I was also gonna say martial arts and stuff like that. A lot of its style is pertaining to a body type, oftentimes. So it makes people learn skills easier just because their body adapts to it. But also, you mold your body and form your body to fit the style as well. And it also makes a big difference if you do it when you're young, because that way your body grows into it and adapts for whatever particular art that you study. I guess I'm kind of going off, but arts. So I was hearing Joe Rogan talk the other day. So like jujitsu and wrestling are like the true martial art, But I guess I would have to disagree on that because they're more of a sport than a martial art. And just like people say boxing's a martial art too, but it's still a sport. Um, Martial art is actually more martial and more um, self-defense potentially um, to the death, um, much more dangerous. But the sports, I would say, could be taken to the level of art. So like an artistic level of the sport, like a very fluid and elegant looking techniques and things like that. But I also would like to say about boxing. I guess I'm kind of going off, but no bother. I'll talk about Dukes in a second. Um, Sport of boxing, um, it's pretty deadly though. It's not like a direct deadly art like karate or something like that, but it's very dangerous, and very brutal sport, and taken to quite a level of art. And also seemed to have been gravitating towards interest in boxing and stuff like that lately, because it's also an older sport. So it's much more cultivated, much more refined, and they have much more like a training ethic, daily grind and things like that to it, and great endurance and everything. The big, I guess you would say, problem, but pitfall or thing to look out for in boxing is it's a lot of time on the feet. A lot of running, a lot of jump rope, bag work, sparring, everything. It's all on the feet, so it can mold your body to be kind of like a fish out of water on the ground. So it's good to be able to do like some bear crawls and roll around and stuff like that. So your body's not so conditioned to be on the feet like that. Like just like a lot of time on your feet, like being a waiter or something like that. But yes, I want to talk about Frank Dukes. Frank Dukes is known as a con man, which this movie is made after. It's made, Van Damme's character in this movie is Frank Dukes. His name, yeah, his character and name in the movie is Frank Dukes. And Frank Dukes is a real person who did ninjutsu, and he has all these records and things like that I guess aren't particularly proven or verified. So they're just not sure about him, whether he's a con man. Most people believe he's a con man, but I guess that's how it goes. I guess I would say that with a lot of conspiracies and conspiracy theories, how there's always something to deny it, and they throw in something hokey and stuff like that. Like the guy David Icke, he says a lot of interesting, meaningful things and truthful comments and stuff like that, and theories and ideologies. But then, like, he just kind of throws it all out the window when he starts talking about reptilian shapeshifters and colony and the moon being hollow and colonies on the moon and stuff like that. So I guess that's similar to a lot of martial arts. There's like a lot of science and truth and stuff to it. But then they go off and start talking about weird things and seem to throw out some type of credibility, which is a good thing because it gets it out there, but it doesn't get it too far out there, kind of like regulated fame, controlled popularity. So that's that as far as Frank Dukes goes. But I guess I want to talk about the fighters and stuff as well. I talked about that individual styles. So it has Bolo Ewing as the main bad guy. He's from China, but it plays a South Korean in this movie named Kong Lee. Chung Lee or Kong Lee. I guess it could go either way. And he's a brutal bad guy. And killed a guy, killed a couple people in the kumite, actually. And injured Frank Dukes' friend in the movie. And he's very, very muscular. What he's kind of known for. He's been in a lot of movies before, Bolo Ewing. And He's known for being very, very muscular. Um, so it's just kind of interesting, kind of a spectacle to see him and the other athletes as well. Like they have the monkey style, uh, where one of the athletes crawls around, moves around like a monkey, which is more of a style suitable for smaller people. And then they also have the sumo wrestler, which is suited for bigger people. And then all kinds of styles in between, like they have Thai boxer and things like that, and some other like kung fu and karate people and stuff. So that's all about all there is to say to it. Oh, and this movie's pretty known for the splits. He does the splits in it a lot, and he brings about the chair splits in it. It's the first time you really um, see somebody doing the splits between the chairs. He kind of made it famous in this movie, meditating, where he gets walked in on, um, where his friend walks in on him while he's doing that, warming up for the fights. So that's that. They also do the death touch, legendary death touch, which some people believe is hokey, but all that really means is that they die sometime after the fight. That's pretty much all that means. But there's been a lot of people talk about death touch and stuff, like some kind of mysticism and things like that. But all that really means is that they just die sometime after the fight. Could be like internal bleeding or organ damage or something like that. And I guess there's like an art to be able to hit people that way. Like people get so proficient at striking that they can say like, I want to be able to hit this guy, and he dies X amount of time after. Kind of like, I want to hit that baseball or a golf ball even and hit it over there. So it's kind of like that. But I guess death touch, delayed, death from a strike wouldn't be quite as prevalent in the modern day because modern medicine is able to save your life before you would die from that. So I guess that's about all there is. I'm sure I could always break down more, but that's a pretty good review. So Bloodsport, check it out if you haven't seen it. Of course, you probably have, right? All right, see you.